This SasView tutorial on a invariant perspective. The scattering or porous invariant is a model-independent quantity that can be easily calculated from scattering data. The worth of the invariant perspective is that it can be used to determine the volume fraction in the specific area of sample, and these quantities are useful in their own right, and they can also be used in further analysis. The difficulty with using scattering invariant arises from the fact that experimental data is never measured over the range from 0 to infinity, and therefore we need to extrapolate the experimental data in the low and Q and high Q regions that I will demonstrate later. So in order to work with this invariant, we need to first load the dataset and then send it to invariant perspective. And once this is done, we already have the volume fraction calculated, which is already calculated with porous invariant and then volume fraction. And we essentially can already get some information from here, but what we can then further manipulate are the options that can be found in the options tab. So we can here manually set the background level, we can rescale data, and we can also define the SLD contrast. We can also set the value of the porous constant, which is then used for calculating specific area of the sample. So let's say that would be 1 in this case. And what we can then further do is this extrapolation in the low and high Q regions, which we can enable. And what we can use here is in the low Q region, we can either use the linear approximation or the power law, and we can define the number of points where this extrapolation is based on. And we can then, for the high Q region, set up the also the extrapolation to the infinity. And again, we can set up the number of the points that we use in this approximation, and this is using the power law, which then we can define the power of the term as to be either fitted during the calculations, or it can be hold fixed. And so then we can do the calculate, and we can see here that how this extrapolation in the low and high Q regions look like. We can also monitor the status of these extrapolations. So basically, that's showing how what is the quality of this extrapolation, and if there is anything going wrong, these values will turn in red. And what we finally can look at is this that we now have the volume fraction and the specific surface area of the sample calculated, because we set up explicitly the porous volume. Thank you for listening. I hope you find this tutorial useful.